Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Shooting the Shelf here on the Just Shelve It channel. I'm Jesse Arnold, and with me is my, I'm going to call myself co-host tonight because Curtis took care of everything this week. Curtis Ackerman, because I have been off dilly-dallying around in Columbus, Ohio at PowerCon. Literally got home 25 minutes ago, and here we are ready to go. So, Curtis, what do we got going on tonight?
We got a really fun show. We've got an awesome photographer that I found in one of our shelf selections a few weeks back that we'll introduce in a second. We've got a little bit of a promo for an upcoming show that I want to do here. But before all that, how was PowerCon? Like, you just got back. What was?
Yeah.
Did you have a good time, Jesse?
Oh man, I had a great time. The only thing that would have made it better is like if you and Sean and Dooch were there. But yeah, it was a great time. Traveled out with Brian and Benny. Just a great blast of a road trip with them. Exhausted, tired, all that good stuff, but just have fun hanging out with everybody at the show. Got some cool stuff. I have a Demistros here to send you this week.
Nice.
He does not have his cape inside the package, but I do have that to send with him.
Beautiful.
For you. Picked up
so
some
at the
cool
show
stuff.
They just had them separately.
They had a separate room outside of the main hall that you got like tickets, like stamps for whatever exclusive you got, and after a certain time on Friday you could go pick them up while the window was open. And I did get myself a Scourge to go with my legions, and picked up some other cool stuff. So I got a Demistros Mines out of the box.
Nice.
And yeah, these soft goods are wicked.
And you got to see the new reveals up close.
I got to go to the reveal party. Got to see a lot of cool people, a lot of cool toys, lots of awesome stuff. But yeah, it was a great time. But I'm happy to be home and sleep in my own bed tonight.
Beautiful. Well, we're gonna introduce our guest in just a second. Before that, though, I did want to pull up this little advertisement for RetroCon coming up September 9th and 10th. This is in Philadelphia, and apparently it's the largest toy and collectible show on the East Coast. So 67,000 square feet, 285 plus vendors. Our buddies, the Four Horsemen, will have their product there. It will be run by a street team led up by our good friend Len LaGuardia. He will have Wolf King Customs table there as well, but he won't be running that. That'll be actually run by you, Jesse. Right?
Yeah, me and Patrick Boyle will be running the Wolf King table right next to Len and his Horseman Street Team table. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
I know Anthony from the Toy Forge will also be there, which is kind of the little bottom down here. And I think didn't Sean do that little logo for him?
Yep. Scavarna did that, and Sean and I went to the show last year. It was a great time.
Beautiful. So if you guys aren't doing anything, a little less than a month from now, RetroCon sounds like it's going to be a really fun time with a lot of great people. And if you didn't get a pre-order in, or even if you got a pre-order in and you want some additional Horseman product, this is probably the cheapest you're ever going to find it. So head there and load up. Cool. All right. Next, we've got our special guest here. And it's, what's having one Jesse when you could have two. So here comes Jesse Feyereisen. Jesse, how are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Doing
two Jessies. You can't beat it.
That's right. There's nothing better than two Jessies. Yeah. So we just kind of talked a little bit before we went on air, but the shelf selections we're going to get into in a second. We really try to scour the internet for just artists that inspire us. And when I saw yours, I think I reached out to you the same day and was just like, hey, would you be interested in coming on our show? Because the thing that I absolutely love about your photography is it looks like it's straight out of a movie. So we're going to get into some of your stuff here in a second. But before we get into shelf selections, anything as far as like can you just tell us a little bit about how you got into this?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, thanks for having me tonight, guys. I'm glad you reached out, Curtis. It was a no-brainer. I'm like, yeah, let's talk. Let's have a good time. So I'm a graphic designer by trade, I guess, on paper. I've always been kind of a tech guy. I've always been into video, graphic design, a little bit of 3D animation, voiceover stuff, the whole gamut of it. And I didn't really get into photography until kind of in my late 20s. Always kind of being a video guy, I thought I was going to go down that route. So I'm a child of the 80s. So I grew up watching all sorts of 80s movies. That's just kind of where all my imagination stuff started. So I started picking up a camera. I had a little bit of photography classes in high school, which was way back in the 90s for me. And that's also when I got introduced to Photoshop I had like a photography as art class, I think it was. And that's where I first got my hands on Photoshop in like 97, 98 or something like that. So that kind of kicked off my graphic design thing. So I've been doing that on and off for mostly small businesses where you kind of have to be the jack of all trades. You have to kind of do lots of different things.
Yeah.
But I started kind of falling out of love with video and in love with photography. And over kind of in my later 20s, I guess, I just started picking up the camera, or I bought a camera finally. Started reading books. This was kind of before YouTube was really taking off and things, and just started taking pictures of everything, wildlife, landscape stuff, dabbled in like astrophotography, things like that. And one day, not too long ago, maybe like 5 years ago or something, maybe in the, like, what would have been like 2000, maybe 17 or 18, we'll say, dabbling in different genres of photography. I started working with product photography. I thought, doing the usual, like, a wine bottle here, an Xbox controller there, things like that. And then one day I had a 6-scale Hot Toys Darth Vader that my wife got me for Christmas one year, put that in front of the camera as a product shot.
Yeah.
And started taking pictures of it and started looking at it. I'm like, dang, that actually kind of looks like someone in cosplay. It looks so good. Those 6-scale figures are so cool looking. And that just kind of jump started it. I wasn't really I was a collector when I was younger, but then I kind of fell off of it. And then I'm starting to collect again because of the photography aspect of it. So I started buying more things. And next thing you know, I've got shelves behind me, and you're taking a day off of work, putting up more shelves, and gets out of hand. And so I started really falling in love with the toy photography thing. And then I started going online and discovering that this was a whole community, a whole genre onto its own. And I kind of had to kick myself because I could not fathom a guy like me and all the stuff I'm into. How did it take me this long to discover this? I had cameras, I had Star Wars models. I had why did it take so long for me to put this stuff together?
Just took the right time to click, huh?
Exactly. So then I started shooting toys. And then, a couple of years ago, I kind of set like my own little self assignment. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do, getting into Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all those things. And I'm going to do a project a week. I'm going to try to shoot something every week and just put it out there and see how it goes. And I've pretty much stuck to that pretty solid. And it's just kind of gotten out of hand, I guess you might say.
Well, that's great. Like,
here we are.
We talk a lot about on this show about mental health and
sure,
how some of this stuff really helps us kind of keep sane.
Absolutely.
Like the nostalgia of the toys part of it, and it's all different forms of, we would call it playing. Whether it's somebody that customizes figures, painting, photography, sculpting, whatever. Even just taking your figures out and posing them in new ways and putting them back on your shelf, that form of play really does help to kind of keep you young and keep you energetic.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that you whether it took you a while or not, I'm glad you found your little niche there. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and pull up our shelf selections for the week, talk through those, and then we'll get right into your Instagram and kind of go from there. So shelf selections for anybody that's tuning in for the first time. This is where we, look at some artists that inspired us through the week for, different types of art, sculpting, photography, customizing, painting, all that kind of good stuff. The first one we have is mine. And this is somebody that I just found in the Cabal. And this is Sig. I know his first name is Sig. Let me check my messages real quick because I've been messaging him this week. Henrik, I think. And on Instagram, it's Area 42 Earth Station. And he's got a lot of 1/18th scale photography. He's just really started getting into some of the Cosmic Legion stuff. And you can see in this photo here, like, I just thought this was an amazing shot. He repainted one of those bat cycles from McFarlane. He added a couple pieces, like the little hubcap things on the wheels are actually from Gundams. the guns on the top are actually from like Star Wars, the floating aerial platforms with the droids. So a lot of unique parts in there, and then just a full repaint of that bat cycle, full repaint of the Sentry with the new head, and then a couple Sphexians there. And I believe it had some sort of tagline like what seems to be the problem officer or something, like they just pulled him over. So a lot of great stuff on his Instagram, as well as, he's been posting stuff in the Cosmic Cabal and the Mythic Legions Cabal. So yeah, check him out. Like I said, I just found his work, but absolutely love what I'm seeing so far.
That custom bike is sweet.
Yeah,
I like that thing.
I immediately went out and bought one of these on Amazon, and I went out and bought the Gundam that these two pieces come from. They're like shoulder pauldrons. I looked at the guns, but it was, I think the cheapest one I found for that aerial platform was like $42. And you would have to get two of them. And yeah, I'm not spending another $84 for that. But
nice. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, cool
that's
stuff.
Incredible. It looks straight out of like a Akira or some sort of cyberpunk thing. Like I love it.
Awesome painting and weathering and like the little chipping around the rim there and stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, did a real good job making it look, somewhat weathered as well. Yeah. So because this whole bike is like gray and black, like it has none of those colors. So
they were giving away McFarlane stuff at the McFarlane table at PowerCon, and you just waited in line. They had like a deck of cards, pick a card, and whatever card you picked, they flip it over, and you got to pick whatever that was
awesome.
off the table. So I won a Dark Redeemer Spawn, which I'll use for customizing and fodder. But they had a couple of the movie bat cycles, like the Robert Pattinson one. I was like, oh, that could probably still get customized up a little bit.
I bought one of those too.
I didn't win a bike.
Those up.
But
yeah, that Dark Redeemer, I actually have those wings on my Belphegor. They work really well.
Nice.
With Mythic Legions.
Nice.
So, next is Jesse's.
Okay, I saw this one and I just loved that it felt like a comic book cover. I love this new Black Widow that recently, I think it's a Target exclusive. It's got like the 3 different heads for like the different eras of her, and just the crazy dynamic pose. Just seeing these two, they're not characters, especially for fans of the movies, you would expect to see together, but like they're like they have like a classic story in the comics for them. So I just really liked the way this one came out. It felt like a comic book cover, so had to pick that one.
Awesome. Oh,
yeah. And it's I think it's Grown Ass Men Toys _ and EDR _ images. I can't remember which one. I think the Grown Ass Men Toys is the person who posted this.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love the way that they're like, diving at the screen, and you kind of see like the rope that she's hanging from and stuff, and then the labeling is behind it. You're right. It looks very much like a comic book cover. So
yeah, I was gonna say like a movie poster or something that you'd see at the wall of the theater.
Yeah,
very nice.
And these are figures that having those like double joints and all that stuff, I think work really well on. These are figures that really benefit from those. Hasbro did a good job with these two.
Yeah. I don't know that all toys need that, but it definitely works good with these.
Yep.
Cool. Next one. This is at Figured Wood. And I just thought this was just a really cool cosmic shot. You got the Sentry with the alternate head coming down the hallway. I love the way that the lighting's set up. And then, you've got Ziri there with the little hologram thing. And I like the way that was lit up as well, so that it really does look like, a hologram shooting out from her wrist. So yeah, I just thought this was a really cool shot.
Yeah, that's got great lighting. That's really good.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead,
Jesse.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's nice too that how the lady and her little hologram skull is so bright and in focus. That's what draws your eye. Your eye typically goes to the brightest and sharpest thing in a photo first. So boom, you zip right over to her, and then you kind of see the situation she's in and stuff. And yeah, that's a really cool shot. Beautiful lighting.
Yeah. We always talk about how good, the good photography tells a story even with no context.
Mm-hmm.
And like you get this, like I can hear the movie, I can feel like the tension building as this guy's coming up behind her and she's getting her message or whatever.
Yeah,
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to watch this scene. I want to see it play out. I want more.
And as you can imagine, I've been kind of in a cosmic fix here recently with opening a bunch of cosmics, the new reveal. So a lot of mine revolve a little bit around cosmics this week. Jesse, this one was yours.
Again, like Jesse was just saying, like you focus on the brightest. I saw that lightsaber, and at first I was like, "Ooh, Ahsoka," because the Ahsoka show's coming soon. And then I saw it's my second favorite Jedi, Alia Secura, and just that dark background with the fog, and how she's almost completely silhouetted there. Then I love that classic pose with her. Like sometimes the more simplistic stuff. Not that the picture itself was simple to make, but there's not a lot going on in the background. Yeah, it's like statement right there, and I love it.
Beautiful lightsaber effect too. Looks
really good. Yeah, I think I love the smoke effects and the photography. Sometimes I feel like they can be overdone, but I feel like on this one it's absolutely perfect. The way that is, kind of surrounding that really bright lightsaber just looks really cool. I like it.
And really, really good and really smart lighting on this too, to have that character pop against the black background. It looks like, she's got either a rim light like behind her, or maybe two lights to the sides and behind her that just give her that nice edge light that makes her pop against the black. Yeah. Really nice.
Yeah. And it looks like the light is coming from her lightsaber, like lighting up that right side of her.
Yep. That on that arm and stuff.
Yeah. So really cool.
I forgot to say this first strike figs on Instagram. So first strike figs. And, again, the whole story thing, there's not a lot of other things to read into it, but I just imagine, some bad guy or someone's coming through the dark that maybe can see in the dark or whatever. And all of a sudden that lightsaber like lights up, and, it's just pitch
and
black.
They're like, oh, fuck.
Yep.
Turn around.
Yeah.
Go back.
So folks, as we're showing these, if there's any of these folks that you aren't following on Instagram, highly encourage you to, check them out. Give them a follow. That's what this is all about. So, just really cool stuff. This was my next one. Once again, Cosmic Fix. This is Iowa and Bing. I don't know. Iowa and Bing. But I thought this was just so cool. We saw there was a shot from Vonnie Rotten Pics not too long ago where they did like the suit of armor for Sir Owain in the background with the figure in front, kind of outside of the armor. And this is similar to that, where they didn't put the heads inside the helmets on these sentries, so it just looks like suits sitting there. And I think that's just so brilliant. Like I wouldn't have thought of doing that, but it very much looks like she's just kind of walking through the ship, and she's come across these, suits that are sitting there ready to be used. So kind of turning those figures into almost like little diorama pieces. So really cool. I like that.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was intentional or a happy accident, but the reflection, the triangle reflection in those visors on the bottom kind of looks like it's the reflection of the flashlight. Holding. So it kind of that works out perfect.
Yeah, that's really
oh hell, I didn't even notice the alien tail on the lower left corner.
Oh,
creeping up.
The I love this because the seeing a lot of the behind the scenes you guys do.
Thanos said.
Oh,
so it's
Lo and Bing.
It's Lo and Bing. Okay, gotcha.
I love how when you see when the photographers post their behind the scenes, like sometimes like this shot is so tight that you see the behind the scenes, and like everything else like immediately outside the frame of the image is like their desk or like a potted plant, depending on where they It's just really cool how you can get so focused on this and make me feel like I'm somewhere completely different.
Yeah, it totally feels like this is on a spaceship, and my eye immediately went to the sentry on the far right. And then I was like, oh crap, there's no head in there. And then, I'm like, oh, they're just suits on the wall. And just really cool.
And that's
a great book.
Yeah. And what you were saying, Jesse, about the, what's just outside the frame. That's a great tip for new photographers too, about worrying about space or where you're shooting. It doesn't matter. All that matters is what's in that little cone of vision that the camera has. Anything outside of that just doesn't matter. You know, it can be a complete mess. Like oftentimes I've got gear or a light like just as close to the edge of the frame as I can get it without creeping in, you know. So yeah, that's super cool.
Nice. Jesse?
Nice.
Again, Ziri is getting a lot of play this week, and well deserved. She's an awesome figure. But looks like they took some cool bits from, I'm assuming that's the classified deluxe snake eyes that came with the timber, with the shawl neck scarf on top of her poncho. And I just loved the really dynamic movement of her, how like neither of her feet are on the ground. Like the first one, it's kicked up, but like I'm sure there's a little wire or something in there that's like right behind her. Just the way these guys are really talented at hiding this stuff. I know sometimes they Photoshop stuff out, but I just love that. And you got the blurry background always gets me. That I always love that. And it just feels like she's sprinting to either take a shot or just made a shot and is running away. Just really cool. And this is Robbie Webb. I believe this was in the Cosmic Cabal on Facebook.
Yeah. To me, when I saw this shot, because you had sent me these earlier in the week, and it looked like, you know, because she's got that sniper rifle on her back, and it's almost like she's, you know, sprinting past, you know, whatever, to try to get into position without them seeing her, and you know, get set up for that shot or whatever. So I thought this was a cool action pose there.
Yeah, I second that or third that on the pose. Like that, it's such a talent to get the posing right and to give it that dynamic motion feel. And not only the figure, but the cape too. The cape has that, or the cloak, I should say, poncho has like this chaotic flow to it that just, it looks like it's right in the middle of action. That's great.
Yeah, I think that's part of why we see so much different photography with her. That poncho cloak thing that she comes with it, you know, just the way that it is cut and the way that it's wired, it does allow for a lot of really great movement too.
Nice.
So
yeah,
totally. And this was my last one. And I loved it was actually 3 photos. There was another photo after this with him landing on the car. But I just loved the different action as you kind of flip through. It was almost like a flip book, you know, just seeing how the fight scene played out. And in that second shot, you know, with him doing the spinning punch and then him just kind of flying back in the air, I just thought was really cool. And this is a figure 4 photos on Instagram.
Oh, these are great.
Those are awesome.
Again, the posing, you can just feel you can feel the weight and the tension in Balrog's left leg in that first picture, you know, as he's turning to throw his arm up, and then just Rue, and how like his whole like neck and torso is getting stretched back in the second one. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look this up and see the final picture later.
Yeah, he's just like winding up for that punch and then just the follow through.
And the little blast effect around his wrist, like he's charging up.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing too.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that. Nice. Yeah. And great lighting too. It looks like, you know, they're out in the street in the back alley. There's like a street light above them. Yeah,
it's almost like it's a street fight.
Exactly. Yeah. Weird.
Hey, he said the thing from the thing.
hey, that's pretty super.
Yeah. Nice.
Awesome.
And this one's Jesse's last one.
This so it's not always toy and photography. This is an artist I follow on Instagram, and I've been wanting to feature some of her stuff for a while. It's just every time I see something, it's gorgeous and breathtaking. I get a lot of Alphonse Mucha vibes, who was a really well-known artist back in I think the 20s and 30s maybe, or whenever Sarah Bernhardt was the actress in Europe, so like way back when. And it's got a similar style where he would do like the discs behind them with all the extra, the Art Nouveau like details and stuff in it. And every time I see her work, it just takes my breath away. But just this with the little gold on the lip and under the eyes, I just really caught my attention this time. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do one for her. And just the hair, like I draw somewhat. I'm nowhere near this good. But just the hair details, like you can just feel the volume of it. And I just think this picture is breathtaking.
Yeah, when I saw this, the first thing I went to was the lips. I just think the detail on the lips is really good. And then the second thing I noticed is what you said with the hair, like just like the individual like strands of hair and just the flow of it and the movement. Just really good. And beautiful overall picture. But I love, when you look in close and you see all the different details like the eyelashes and there's a lot of details in here that are great.
Yeah. Is this a real sketch that someone took a photo of? Because it looks like there's. Oh, go ahead.
I think she does this. I believe she does this stuff digitally because she'll have art on her, or she'll show like the progression, like the time lapse videos or different stages.
Oh, very cool.
So I believe it's on like an iPad or some sort of tablet, or even like a more advanced like desktop version.
Yeah, it looks like it has like actual texture, like in the kind of bluish part of that circle behind it. There's like it looks like there's paper texture there. That's super cool. Man, I wish I could.
Yeah, and you can see her she'll show stuff where she starts with the sketch, like just the rough outline and details. Sometimes just the black and white, like the pencil version before she does her colors and everything. It just she's definitely worth following if you like this style of art. Just they're all amazing.
Cool.
Oh, very cool.
So that's Married to Mary on Instagram.
And that was our last one for shelf selections. So.
All right.
So before we pull up your Instagram and get into your work, I know you and I were talking. Jesse had to pop out for a second before we got rolling, but you were talking about you just kind of started realizing about Mythic Legions. You got your first one, and you've pre-ordered a second. So we get a lot of Mythic Legion and Cosmic Legion folks in here. So can you talk to us a little bit about that, like how you found this, what your thoughts are so far?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Gosh, I honestly don't know how I stumbled upon it. You did mention Trevor, the photographer.
Yep.
616?
1/6
shooter, excuse me. I follow him, and he is, wow, talk about a master of lighting. Like, he is so good at his craft. I think that might have been what turned me on to him. And then I ended up picking up just kind of a skeleton soldier. I don't know what he is per se, and I ordered a custom cloak for him and stuff, but those are awesome figures. They are really, really good figures, and they're not even that expensive. Like, relatively, they're really good priced. I'm probably going to hit it with like a dirty wash or something and muck them up a little bit. But yeah, with Halloween just around the corner, I'm very excited to start doing some of those kind of style of picks. Yeah, and like you're saying, Curtis, yep, I already went to the website and I pre-ordered another, like a Knights Templar kind of character with a horse and stuff.
Yeah, it was the Sir Enoch.
So I could see myself falling down this rabbit hole pretty quick.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of folks that still don't know about these lines, the Cosmic Legion and the Mythic Legion, and then once they do find them, I think the first thing they do is go to eBay and look up the prices on these things. And the problem is that the older figures on eBay are super expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But if you get in as they're doing new pre-orders, like you said, the price is not bad. Like they just did, they just announced a new pre-order for Cosmic Legions, and your typical figure is going to be about $37. And when you compare like what you're getting from a $37 figure there versus like a $30 Hasbro, it's night and day. Like it's not even close. So, if you get in on those pre-order prices, you're definitely getting really good value for your money for sure. Now, that's not to say that you're not at the retail prices, but it's just not as good. So
and especially when you compare them to like the Mezcos and the SH Figure Arts or whatever, those ones that are starting to get into the $70 to $100 something range. Those Mythic Legions, man, they're really nice.
Well, especially now that they've started adding the soft goods and stuff, like you were talking about that Sir Enoch. I mean, it basically is decked out in almost all soft goods, and it's similar to a Mezco figure that you'd pay $100 for. And if you did the pre-order, you probably got it at $37. If you ordered,
I think that's what it was. Yeah. Yep.
So,
like the new Kern Ray they just announced from the new Cosmic Wave Ox Crew Thraxen Book 1. She's got like the Duster like wasteland jacket and like kind of like a waist piece that goes under her belt. I mean, it looks like something out of a Mezco figure. Like they've got this real tiny, like C. Jessam, that team does a fantastic job of getting the really nice stitching, really tight where it looks to scale for the figures. And like the pockets, everything. And then the factories who are making them do a really good job replicating it and make sure they work on the figures. But yeah, go ahead, Gers.
I was just going to say, like this, the amount of soft goods that you get on that figure and just the look of it overall. And then you go to like,
look at all
the accessories that you get for this for $37. Like you get all these different sets of hands and all this different stuff, a couple different head options, which, I'm guessing as a photographer, like having multiple options, like different heads, different accessories, creates a bunch of different opportunities for you to take photos of.
Yeah. And this is great that I'm on with you guys, because you guys can educate me on this stuff. So are a lot of their parts swappable?
Oh yeah,
I see those shoulder pauldron things, and they look almost exactly like the ones I got with my skeleton. So like I could start swapping parts.
Yeah, that's really the idea of this line. Was that for everything to be swappable for the most part. You have different scales of figures, but within the same scale, you can swap out arms, legs, heads, torsos. So there's a whole customizing community built around these figures, and that's really what Jesse and I do for the most part. And is customize these. So you take these figures and you mix and match them in different ways and come up with something completely new.
Oh, this is going to be an expensive podcast for me, isn't it? Oh boy.
Yes. Yes. And the cool thing is a lot of the parts will even switch, like the pauldrons. You could put those on the goblin or the elf scale figures and it'll give them like a bulkier look. So they might not, they'll fit in the ports, but like the arms are designed for like the different sizes and stuff. And they've got the goblin, the regular scale, they call 1.0. Then there's brute scale, which is a little bit bigger, ogre scale, and trolls. And yeah, this is the one we were just talking about with her new duster, Curran Ray. She's
so this is a $42 figure.
Wow.
But I mean, you get the rangefinder, the soft goods, all that, and then you flip a little bit further, and once you take off the soft goods, it's like a whole different character.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's almost like you get two completely different looks in one for $42.
Are those soft goods typically wired? Like those jackets? And
most of them are,
Most of the time they are.
The last couple waves, almost everything's been wired.
Man.
Yeah. Now, early on in Mythic Legions, that I will say their soft goods were really, I would say, on the cheaper side. They were just kind of a piece of fabric with some holes punched in, like in the really early waves. But once they started working with CGSM and putting out these soft goods, everything for the last few waves has been, wired and very posable. But I mean, you just see the amount of stuff that you get here for the price, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then that head is very Star Wars to me. It's like Empire droid probe.
Probe droid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm back there somewhere.
I just love when you get helmets like this and you have no idea what is underneath. Like if you introduce that in a movie or a show, or like when they presented this, I saw the figure get carried up in the room, and it wasn't until later when someone held up, because they didn't have a screen to show it on. It was just a little laptop, and there was probably, I don't know, 50 or so people or more in there, and they like Cornboy would like hold up the laptop so we could see. So we're all like trying to screen, and we're like streaming it on our phones on mute so we can see the pictures and everything. It was really cool. But to see that head underneath that helmet, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like when Leia takes off her Bosch helmet in Return of the Jedi, And just real quick thing about their soft goods, if you can blow me up, Curtis.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Like this Demistros was their PowerCon exclusive. They'll do out a standard version of him later, which will look exactly like this. The exclusive came with like a translucent green head and hands. But the soft goods, they're wired here. He's got soft goods like under his loin piece here, like a skirt. But then it's got these leather straps that crisscross, and they have a little Velcro that you attach in the back.
Man,
that it's all worked into it, and that's the first time I've seen them do the straps worked into the cloak.
When that one was released, was that like a $40 as well, or was that a little?
This
more?
one was $60 because it was a PowerCon exclusive, so it was sold by PowerCon.
Okay,
I'm not sure what the price point will be when the Horsemen, because they usually when they do exclusives, they'll do like a standard retail version later. So that'll probably be out sometime next year. It might be at a slightly different price point because I imagine it won't have the translucent green head and hands. So.
If I was going to recommend one figure for you to try that would be like, I think really show off what this would be, it would be the Headless Horseman. Which that's from the Figure Obscura line. And they did a regular version last year, and they've now got a new retail version that's getting ready to come out. So if you go to, you know, a lot of your retailers, I believe it's still available, Big Bad Toy Store, things like that.
Oh, sure.
And that Headless Horseman is, I mean, it's amazing. And some of the photos that you get from there, like Trevor's done some amazing stuff. I've seen a lot of other photographers do some really good stuff with that Headless Horseman. Highly recommend.
Nice.
So,
yeah, I might have to go hunt that down this week then. Halloween right around the corner here. Oh.
There you go.
Oh, and coincidentally, I'm in Western Wisconsin. Big Bad Toy Store is like 10 minutes from my house.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
I've reached out to
them.
them.
Does it take you 2.5 weeks to get stuff when they ship it?
Yes. When I watch my tracking, it goes from like Wisconsin down to Illinois for some reason, and then up to Minneapolis and then over. And I'm like, guys, can I just come in and pick it up? I mean,
just let me stop by. All right. Well, let's we've beat around the bush enough. Let's jump into your Instagram and take a look at some of your great work. So the first thing I wanted to pull up was this thing, because this is like,
oh, that was a fun one.
Like, how is that not from a movie? You know, like tell us what goes into something like this.
Yeah. So that Super Star Destroyer is from a tabletop game, I think called Star Wars Armada. It's about a, oh shit, actually I got it. There we go. So yeah, nice. So it's like a 2-foot tabletop board game piece.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's the Super Star Destroyer. The Imperial shuttle there is a Hot Wheels shuttle. It's like maybe 3 or 4 inches tall. But kind of the trick to this shot was I've been getting into focus stacking. For anyone I don't know who's into photography knows about that. That's basically when you're into macro photography, your depth of field is typically so shallow that your focus plane is super, super thin, basically. So what focus stacking is you take a series of shots from front to back, wherever you want, and you stack them together in software like Photoshop or whatnot. And then that gives you everything in focus, basically.
Gotcha.
So that's what I had to do with that Super Star Destroyer. I couldn't get it all in focus how I wanted it to. And to give the illusion of scale, typically you want everything in focus. It's like an old visual effects trick, kind of. So I focus stacked 25, 30 frames or something of the Super Star Destroyer. And then I took a separate shot, keeping the lighting, everything the same. I took Super Star Destroyer, took all the shots, moved that, then put the Imperial shuttle kind of in a similar spot. So the lighting would all be the same. Took that shot, then composited those two together in Photoshop. But the real pain in the butt on this is if you notice on the edge of the Super Star Destroyer, all those little lights, I spent a couple hours hand painting those in Photoshop. As I was sitting there shooting the thing. And actually, I think there might be a shot of my laptop if you scroll through those there. But
well, that was the other thing I was going to call out, because you do a lot of behind the scenes stuff here. So yeah,
yeah, pretty much most of my stuff I include the behind the scenes because honestly, that's how I learned a lot of it. I learned so much from seeing other people's setups and how they do things, and it kind of puts it all into perspective. You know, you don't need this fancy, crazy studio. Yeah. So there I am with my tablet and got some reference photos on the side, and
so this is where you're painting the lights on.
I'm painting those all in. Now I manually painted all the ones on that side area, which turned out really nice. It kind of drove me crazy, but on the city portion on top of the ship too, by that time I decided I'm not going to do that anymore. I ended up making a custom brush in Photoshop that kind of randomly spatters little white specks. It doesn't look as nice, but I kept my sanity doing it that way for the top portion.
That is important to do.
Exactly. So yeah, that was a really fun one. I really enjoyed doing the ship shots. Oh, and then so then it's composited together in Photoshop. The engine lights are done in Photoshop. There's a little bit of added lens flare, which I've added in a piece of software called Boris Effects Optics. Boris Effects is a company that does, they make a lot of visual effects software for video and stuff. And they recently came out with their optics product for photographers. It's a standalone product by itself, but it also works as a plugin for Photoshop and Lightroom if you want to use it that way. And that's how I use it. So that added did the nice lens flares for me and bring it back into Lightroom with a little bit of color grading and stuff. And I'm really happy with that. And that was a really fun shot.
Yeah.
Well, if amazing. I can throw something out here just to get into the process and just the theory behind some of this stuff. So like this isn't like you didn't just slap a Star Destroyer and then Photoshop out the background, and then, you know, just add some flares. Like you said, you did a bunch of passes on this thing, and you put a lot of time and effort to it. You used some computers to complete it. Where you see some people, I know a lot of people will complain about, like, you know, CG art. Well, that's not real animation. And I feel like there's not the same, but a similar kind of thing here. Cause like you had to put a lot of work into getting the photos right of those different sections.
Absolutely. A lot of my photography is composites. You could basically, where I'm photographing all the elements and then I'm putting them together in Photoshop, and not always.
Sure.
I mean, I try not to repeat myself. I try to do something different every time. So some of my shots are very technical shots like this, where it's a lot of different images put together and lots of visual effects. But sometimes I'll just take a Hot Toys Boba Fett and take him out in the backyard and put him in some grass and do that kind of shot too. You know, that's it. It all starts with whatever image is in my head, whatever it takes to accomplish that image is really, you know, what happens. Oh, there's Trevor right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Trevor, what's up? I don't really know Trevor, but Trevor, I'm a big fan of yours. Your stuff is amazing.
Trevor and Nate's also a photographer in here. Nate Strong. They're both really awesome dudes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's
there's the chat. Oh, I didn't see the chat over there.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So with something like this, with all that different work and the different shots and putting it together and lighting it up, what is the length of time on a project like this?
Oh, so I mean, that shot probably, you know, that's probably a good 4 to 6 hour project there. And again, it depends. That's probably going to be the theme of the night for me. It depends. But like I mentioned, there's the Boba Fett shot you'll see in here where it's just like, sometimes what do I want to do this Saturday afternoon? I'm going to grab this figure. I'm going to go outside. It's a nice day out. Let's put him somewhere and see what happens. And then you can turn around something in a half an hour or an hour.
Gotcha. So is this the one you're talking about?
Oh, no, but that's very similar fashion. That's just taking the Mandalorian out there outside in the snow in the backyard. And actually I did have to take that one a couple times because that's the new chromed out version of him. So I have both of them. I have the older one in this new chromed out version. I had him originally closer to the house and I started taking pictures of him. And then I'm like kind of double checking while I'm out there, and you could totally see my house, like all reflected
on his
like,
stuff. Oh, gotcha.
So I got to redo this.
Which figure is this?
This
Hot
is
Toys?
the man. Yeah, yes. I'm sorry. This is the Hot Toys
Okay.
Mandalorian 6 scale. They recently came out with a new one where his armor's more chromed out now. It was like it was almost like a silver gray in the previous iteration of him, and now he's pretty good chrome. They really weathered him up though, which there you go. Yeah, thanks, Trevor. Yeah, they really almost over weathered him. Some people are saying I kind of like him a little dirty, but I've seen people that are like polishing him up and getting rid of the weathering, and then he's really, really nice and chrome. But
gotcha.
I love that. Like, I mean, I'm sure I've seen other people do it, but I got to say, I applaud you taking a Hot Toy 1/6 figure and putting it in snow.
Yeah. It is a little bit of a gamble with those. You don't always want to. I have a. Does anybody remember Titanfall, the game? Any video gamers?
I know it. I've never played it.
Anyway, so Titanfall, it's giant mechs. You know, it's like 30-foot mechs and a bunch of foot soldiers running. Giant robot on robot action, can't go wrong. And it's one of my favorite games. And I have a giant, I have an Atlas class Titan back there. Well, you can't really see it, but that's one of those figures that it was pretty rare. I got it. I love it. I'm scared to take pictures of it because just the way his joints kind of click, 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 click. You know, it's like, oh, I don't want to break this guy. Oh boy. But
I loved this one too. So how big is this Falcon?
So that is the Micro Galaxy Squadron's Millennium Falcon. So it's like maybe 10 inches in diameter or so.
Okay.
So there's another fun composite. The Micro Galaxy Squadron, I just shot that in the backyard on a sunny day. The clouds, you can feel free to scroll through. Yeah, there you go.
Oh wow.
So that's just mounted up on a platypod deal and a gooseneck and a clamp.
Beautiful.
And then the background clouds there are, I shot this spring. I went on a trip to Florida to be on another webcast and broadcast and stuff. And on the way back, I was taking pictures of the clouds because I've always wanted in my compositing, you know, I want to have the shots myself. So I'm always wanted shots from above the clouds. And it's like, so I'm sitting there in the window seat, you know, snapping with my phone, you know, just getting as much content as I can so I can use it later. And that's what the clouds are. And then there are some stars very faintly in the top.
Oh, I
Mhm.
see
I
that.
added those myself. Yeah, I made some stars in After Effects one time, and it's kind of been it's the same background plate actually that's in the Superstar Destroyer shot we looked at earlier. So
Okay.
Oh, okay.
all those parts kind of put together. And then the kind of the light effects and the engine effects, those a combination of Photoshop and Boris Effects optics that I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, we featured this not too long ago on Shelf Selections, and I know
I
Remember
Jesse.
saw it.
last
Yeah,
week?
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, Jesse was very impressed with, a lot of these you'll see it, with kind of the night sky. So just the fact that you did more of a daytime shot with this, as it's going through the clouds was really cool.
Yeah, you don't often
Yeah.
see like Star Wars ships in broad, harsh daylight. So it's like, here, let's give it a try, see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely love that one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the armor. Yep. And here's on the flip side of all that compositing. Here's just a figure with the cardboard backdrop that it came with.
Mhm.
I've got a soft box, like a 32-inch soft box, I think, above overhead. Yep. And then those two 10x24s behind. I shoot a lot of off-camera flash nowadays rather than my LED lights. I'm kind of growing to really like them. I like that I can use the modifiers and stuff from oh, and then there's a little bit of atmosphere aerosol, the old smoke in a can trick.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that shot is actually relatively simple, but
It came out looking
yeah,
fantastic.
thank you.
So
And then and color graded a little bit. If you look really closely, nobody would ever be able to tell, but the two sides of her helmet, I have a kit of gels since I'm using off-camera flash. It's not like an RGB LED panel where you can dial in whatever color you want. You have to put a little gel strip in front of it. I didn't have the exact same oranges. So there's like two different oranges on the helmet, tiny little detail that always bugs me when I look back at it now, but nobody else would ever notice.
Gotcha. It doesn't. I don't notice it for sure.
I mean, artists of all types are their own worst critics.
Yeah,
so.
there you go. Yeah. Oh, this is that Boba Fett I was kind of referencing earlier, where it's just, okay, I'm going to grab Boba Fett and take him out in the backyard in the grass.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah. So if you keep scrolling, you'll see like I mentioned, I don't remember if it was in the pre-show lobby or if it was when we were broadcasting, but I'm a child of the 80s, so I grew up loving old action movies and stuff. And then loving movies, I think a lot of my photos in sort of like a widescreen cinematic cinescope type aspect ratio, which just doesn't unfortunately play on social media very well on mobile devices. It looks like a tiny little thumbnail. So I do this a lot with my shots. That's like my vision of the shot right there, the widescreen crop. But then I'll also make another crop of it that's like a 4x5 portrait. So then it fits on social media and it shows better on phones and stuff. But so I do this quite often.
I could totally see that like as a clip from a trailer from an upcoming season,
Yep.
Yep. I'm envisioning him like he's maybe tracking a target or something. He's kind of creeping through the brush, kind of thing. And
scroll the other way, Curtis. Back to the
beginning.
Nope. No. The other way. So, yeah. In my mind, if I ever take toys outside and take pictures, this is what I get. In my mind, I'm taking the other shot, but this is what I'm like.
You're
this
taking
is my
this
good
one, but this is
I
what
think I'm taking in my mind. That's what I'm taking. This is what I'm taking, and I'm like, yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah, so what goes into taking it from this to that?
Yeah. So I don't. No, I take that back. So my typical workflow, I use Lightroom and Photoshop. A lot of people have conversations about Lightroom and Photoshop as if they're competing products. They're very much not. They're sister products. They're meant to be used together. In fact, Lightroom was born. There's a filter in Photoshop called Adobe Camera Raw for raw image processing. That Camera Raw software, if I'm getting my history right, and maybe someone can correct me on this, but that Camera Raw basically turned into the develop module in Lightroom. It's almost the exact same controls. And then around that became the cataloging features of Lightroom. So what Lightroom is great at, Lightroom is basically a piece of database software. It's really about organizing your catalog of images. So it's a great central place to, every time you go do a shoot, you dump it in Lightroom. You can do your raw editing there. You can organize stuff. All of a sudden, next thing you know, you've got 50, 500, 5,000, 50,000 images that you can quickly access at any time. There's keywording, you can make collections and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, nice.
The collection thing is great too. Think of your photo shoots like almost like an album, like a music album. And then your collections are like playlists. So I've got my Boba Fett shoot here that's always in its original folder / collection. But then I can also take like that shot, the one that I made, and I can put it in like my favorites folder. I can put it in an action figure folder. I can put it in different collections, like different playlists. It's kind of hard to, I'm trying to think. It's kind of hard to explain, but once you get into it, it's so helpful to have all that information. But at the same time, it's also an editor. So basically, I take all my shoots, I dump them into Lightroom first, and I do my basic like exposure, raw editing, just getting everything so it looks good. And then some shots will end up going into Photoshop. So within Lightroom, you can literally right click, edit in Photoshop. They're made to bounce back and forth with each other. So a shot like this, I would shoot it. I would do some basic editing, just get the exposure and color corrected in Lightroom. Then I'll bounce over to Photoshop and I'll probably use like some of the clone tools, healing tools, things like that to remove certain blades of grass or things that are maybe distracting. With figures, you almost always doing dust cleanup. There's little specks of dust once you start zooming in on these figures, as much as you dust them and clean them beforehand. Excuse me. So then I'll take it over to Photoshop, do some editing, and then bring it back into Lightroom. And then that's when I'll do like my color grading, give it like, there's a bit of a vignette there to kind of really draw your eye into the center of the frame.
Yeah.
Do some local adjustments, like adding texture to the character, maybe softening up the edges, things like that. So that's kind of my workflow. It's most often just Lightroom. Sometimes you got to bounce over to Photoshop and then you come back to Lightroom to finish it off.
So,
Lightroom's
you were using this as an example earlier as one that you're taking it outside, you're throwing the figure there and taking a picture, but then there's all this other stuff to it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
there is. I spent a lot of time editing.
So even though this is a fairly easy one for you, there's still a lot to this final shot.
Yeah, there is. I do a lot of post processing with my shots, but I really feel that that's where the shots really start to come alive. It takes it from just being straight out of camera to something else, to something a little more, I often think.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I mean, I think that's something that takes it from being more of a documentary journalistic photograph,
like
capturing an actual event. Whereas this is you're telling a story, you're capturing mood and emotion. And I think that's great.
This is a fun one too.
Like, we talked just a little bit ago about telling a story, and this looks like the background's moving when you're taking this picture. So talk to us a little bit about this.
Yeah. And this is another one too. If you scroll, you'll see like the widescreen shot. So that is the Bandai Silver Razor Crest. It's maybe, there you go. Yeah. It's like a little 4-inch model or something.
Yeah. It's tiny.
It's super tiny. And then, so then I'm using some like sticky thumbtack to put it on an acrylic rod and stick it. So in this instance, a lot of toy photography, especially when you go outside, is just about vision. It's kind of about seeing the world a little differently, like all those, like in this case, I looked outside and I saw the way the snow is kind of creating little dunes to us.
Right.
But to a scaled
just
figure,
little unevenness.
It looks much grander to a scaled figure. So I stuck them out there and took various shots at different angles and stuff. And then the motion blurs is added in Photoshop after the fact. And same with the lens flare. So yeah, exactly.
You're saying people who don't take the time to learn are missing half the art.
Yeah, it really is. There's something to be said. A lot of people talk about straight out of camera is very much a thing that a lot of people say. And that's a very valid thing. A lot of people are really good at that. But at the same time, what does straight out of the camera mean? Like if the three of us went somewhere, put one figure out, and we all took the same picture of it with our cameras, all three of those are straight out of camera, but they're going to be different pictures because the straight out of camera basically means you're letting the camera do the creative decision making for you. if you shoot JPEG, you take the shot, the camera's processor now is adding sharpness, it's adding vibrance, saturation, contrast. It's doing all that for you. Where if you shoot raw and you process later, I feel that actually adds more of a human element to it than getting it straight out of camera in some ways. Because now I'm in control of the exposure, the color, the contrast, the vibrant, like all of these things. So yeah, I highly recommend learning post-processing. It really makes images come to life in a different way.
Wow, that's a great one too.
Yeah.
Is that another one where you took like from an airplane or something like that?
Okay, now this one might cause some controversy.
Okay.
What crowd you roll with, because that's the exact same Micro Galaxy Millennium Falcon shot in the backyard on a stand. The background is AI generated.
Okay.
That was when Adobe Firefly came out, which is Adobe's text to image generator. Oh wow. Actually have that one behind me. I just got that last week. Oh, you can't see the reflection, but that picture back there is that one.
That's crazy cool.
Yeah, so that was me playing with the AI text to image generators back in the spring. At that time, I didn't have my own above the cloud catalog, so I couldn't have anything to draw from. So I'm like, well, let's type in, sunny day, 30,000 feet, fluffy clouds or whatever it happened to be, and got some variations and dropped the Falcon on it, put some engine lights on it and a lens flare. And that's one of my personal favorites. We could talk about the concept of AI. That's almost like a whole.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've kind of had some talks on here and I think that at least with the photographers that we've had on here, it seems like, if you're doing stuff with backgrounds and stuff like that, I don't know. I think that seems somewhat acceptable, but it's more when you're using it and it's pulling like people's individual art in there and they're not getting credit for it and that kind of thing that there's an issue.
Yeah. I don't know where I stand on it yet. I can say this. Okay. So the aspects of AI that I use regularly and I enjoy are things like the new removal tool in Photoshop. Like there's certain production value that saves me time.
Yeah.
Like Lightroom's new AI masking feature is incredible. Like the Boba Fett picture we were looking at, I can literally now hit select subject, boom, and have my subject isolated from the background in seconds. That used to take me I'd have to go into Photoshop and use the pen tool and draw around it. Take me like 20 minutes. And now I can do it in the click of a button. That stuff I love. The text to image generation stuff, I have no problem with people doing it and creating art with it and stuff. That's fine. When I was playing with it, I found very quickly that it was technically fascinating. I'm just blown away by what it can do. But creatively, I felt no attachment to the things I was creating with it. It just didn't. I felt like the client asking the creator to make something for me. And it really taught me how much I enjoy the creative process. I enjoy the journey as much as the destination in this hobby.
Yep.
So the text to image generation is maybe not for me. Generative fill. I don't know if you guys have heard of that in Photoshop. Now that is really good too, where you can, so we're doing all these different crops. So like say you take a shot and you accidentally cut off someone's arm. It was cropped off or something. Now with generative fill, you can actually expand your crop and it will generate like that extra inch of the image or, for you, which is incredibly fascinating that it can do that. It does a really good job too. Especially with like landscape and things. Now in our genres with sci-fi and fantasy, it might not do as great of a job, but it might get there. But that as a graphic designer, some of those AI tools are very helpful to me when you get a photo and you need to put text on it, but the person's in the way. So it's very nice to extend the person's background. So now I can put text over here and the person's over here and make a composition out of it and stuff. That stuff's really cool.
Nate here says he's been using Firefly quite a bit to create backgrounds.
Yep.
So
yeah, that's what created those clouds in that second Falcon shot that we looked at was the Adobe Firefly.
So I think, it's one of those things that, if you lean too heavy on it, or if that's all you're doing is using the AI, then that's it takes away the artistic nature of it, I think. But if you look at it as just an additional tool, like, it's kind of similar to the same thing that you were talking about, straight out of the camera versus using Photoshop and using all these other things. It's just a tool, and it's how you use it. And so I don't think there's nothing inherently wrong with using it. It's how you're using it and why you're using it, and what else you're doing along with it, in my opinion. I don't know, Jesse, you got any other thoughts on that?
I think Trevor might be saying kind of where I'm at here. I'll read his comment first. He said, I won't consider what is generated by AI text images art. Is great for background creation, but I would not consider anyone an artist for generating AI art. He said it much better than I did. I would, but I think, using it to generate your backgrounds or like the fill and like the technical stuff, I think is a perfectly good and helpful way to do that. But when I see stuff on Instagram and stuff like, oh, I'm an AI artist, look what I created. And it's like, okay, that's like Brad Pitt and like all the Chris's merged into like one Tarzan dude.
Yeah.
Or like, okay, that's clearly like all the Kardashians and every, supermodel like meshed into a person like that. It's like, okay, it's cool. It might be like there's something that's just so off-putting about it, especially when you look really close and you see like the 18 fingers or like 3 arms.
I was just gonna say,
that stuff. Now I know that stuff will improve. Like it catches your attention. Like it's very interestingly rendered, and I've been seeing stuff, but it's like you're just doing a really complicated search with all the right keywords. But if you're using it to enhance your photo, like I'm not opposed to AI in general, but it's especially if it's taking from artists that aren't getting compensated for or didn't agree to, like the AI stuff with movies where they scan like the whole strike that's going on. Like I think this is a completely different side of it. But if you're using like if they used AI to help enhance the Secret Invasion background as opposed to or intro as opposed to I think that's cool. So it's one of those things. It's the cat's, like I think in one of your posts, like the cat's out of the bag, there's no putting it back in. I just hope we find the right way that allows it to help artists create cool stuff and not replace the artists or actors or writers from what they're doing.
It's going to be an interesting future for sure. And like I said, when I was playing with it, I don't foresee me ever doing the text to image stuff just as a straight up piece of art. Like I just didn't feel anything for that. Like I mentioned, I felt like I was the client, not the creator anymore. I'm just typing in like, make me a picture of this, blah, and then it just does it. So I don't feel any ownership or connection or anything like that to it. But also, like I mentioned, like the generative fill and the removal tool, when there's a stick in the way that I want to remove, I have no problem with AI. I'm painting in the area I want to remove. And then if AI is looking at images of forests or something to then kind of fill in that little, it's either me doing
like you were talking about, like, all those little lights that you did. If you could somehow use AI to do those lights and not have to spend hours doing them manually.
It's those like kind of production kind of tasks that I'm like, then it's helpful and saves me time. But
one thing I really like about this, I like the, like on this shot that you've got, seeing the light, like where it's hitting the front of the Falcon and then how that makes it in then to the final photo. So I like those kind of things. Your behind the scenes stuff is very helpful for those of us that don't know jack about photography. This is another one that I thought was really cool. Just the way that the, like from the fire, the light was coming up towards the character here.
And so this is another interesting, this one I did for a project. So in the background, you can barely, and it might not come out very well in the feed, but you can see the stars. There's 3 stars on a line. That is actually Orion's belt. I actually have shots. Okay. I wanted to get this shot all in one, but I just couldn't quite do it. So that's Orion up there. So I ended up having to take separate shots of the sky first, and then that's Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay.
So I had to composite those two together, which I wanted to get them all in shot, but it just wasn't panning out that night. And then the fire, there's an LED panel down there that's tinted orange or whatever, you know, shining on the character. Yeah, you can barely see it over the top of my camera.
Oh, okay.
But,
Right here.
Yeah. Is there one more shot? Maybe from a different angle?
This one.
Oh, there it is. It's on a gooseneck. It's that flat panel down in the lower left corner. But
Gotcha.
yeah, so that's creating the fire light, and then the actual fire particles is created in Boris FX optics, and then blurred in Photoshop and stuff. So that's kind of all the different. It's compositing, it's practical lighting, it's a whole bunch of things all put together.
Awesome.
That's very cool. And I'll comment here. You do really good job of, like, when a lot of us that are doing like the customs and stuff with the Mythic Legions and Cosmic stuff, a lot of people taking precedent from those who started this before us will put like their recipe, like what parts they use, what's theirs and all this stuff. But like how you put your details, like if you want to see the breakdown of this, go here, or, you know, how you describe what tools or what camera equipment you use to take it. Like that's really cool, because so many people want to keep that stuff private and like, no, I'm not giving my secrets away. And you know, probably don't give everything away, but like, you know, the educational side of it is really cool to see people doing.
You know, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I mean, at the end of the day, I'm doing this for fun. You know, it's a really fun hobby. I love doing it. And I've learned a lot of my techniques from those who came before me, you know, teaching me how to do things. So if it's a way to like pay it forward to the next generation, you know, I love hearing other people comment on my images about, yeah, you know, me and my son or daughter, we took a action figure out last night and we took some shots, and you were inspired by the things you did. And like, I love hearing stuff like that. You know, that's just the coolest thing to me. So to know that other people are learning and having their own aha moments, like when things are clicking in their head and all of a sudden pictures are being created and they're having a good time with it, you know, that's so cool. I get a kick out of that.
It seems like you've got a good mix of stuff that's, you know, done in the studio versus outside.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a preference of one or the other, or are you just kind of like doing whatever?
That's a good question. Oh boy. It probably depends on the day of the week and what the weather's like, whether I like to shoot inside or out. I think I like shooting indoors because then I have complete control over everything.
Mm-hmm.
But the downside is that I don't have the space or the talent to like get into all the amazing dioramas that people are making. So my in-house backgrounds are kind of limited. Where, you know, like I mentioned before, I'm in Wisconsin, so we get to see all 4 seasons. So I get to do fall shots. I get to do winter shots.
Yeah, like that's awesome.
Like, that was a fall. Yeah. Yeah, I'll shoot whatever. It really comes down to the idea in my head, the shot.
I love these landscape views. Those are great.
Yeah. Do you remember when Star Wars put out like their landscape trading card collection?
Yes, I have some. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Those were great.
Yeah.
So I think I discovered those shortly after I discovered what widescreen film was, because I remember Karate Kid 3 came out. Sorry, a little tangent here. And when I spent the summer at my grandparents' house in Florida that year, and I wanted to watch Karate Kid 3. So I don't know how many times we rented it that summer from the grocery store. And it had the bars on it. And I was like, why are they cutting it off? I was like 11. It was 1990. I didn't know what I was talking about. And a couple of years later, I saw like Jurassic Park, and then I learned what the letterbox was. I'm like, I have to get Jurassic Park on the letterbox VHS. I want to see the whole thing. So yeah, Instagram, like I tell Curtis, I was like, oh man, you know, cropping our shots for our shelf selections, because I can only do 10 pictures. So, you know, and then I want to do the intro and the, you know, the guest and the tease for the next episode. Like cropping that stuff to fit in that little square is such a pain in the butt. I mean, it's not hard work, but it's just annoying.
It's additional work. Yeah, for sure.
And so yeah, seeing those wide shots, and I love like how you do, where you can slide through and you see like the 3 stages, and it's just seamless. Is really cool. I don't know how to do that, but it's really cool.
I was watching our buddies Sean and the Dooch on Legends of Grayskull this past week, and they were having kind of a retro VHS discussion. They were kind of talking about some old VHS cartoons and stuff, and talking about when stuff started coming out on widescreen versus full screen. And I remember at the time, like I was like, why would I want widescreen and have those bars? Like, obviously I want full screen, but then you don't realize, or at least I didn't realize at the time, that I'm missing part of the picture. Like, I'm not seeing the whole
old
thing.
pane and scan techniques.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like
once that.
Yeah, so it's like I'm maximizing the space on my screen, but I'm also missing some stuff that's going on the sides.
Yeah.
So I bought a bunch of stuff in full screen, and then later on realized I was an idiot, and then I'm like, okay, this sucks.
Yeah. So I guess one thing I neglected to mention earlier when I was doing the about me portion, being a movie junkie, I spent my late teens and most of my 20s working for a low voltage company doing custom home theaters and stuff. So I have a decade plus of explaining aspect ratios and why things to people. So, and then being a graphic designer, I'm just used to a world where everything is a different shape. All of our images go in different shapes. Everyone, our sensors are 3x2, but Instagram is 4x5 or a 1x1. And then you've got the widescreen stuff that is 2.4 to 1. Which conveniently, here's a little secret about those widescreen shots that I do. Conveniently, for some reason, the math works out that if you take a 2.4 to 1 cinescope crop, that perfectly cuts up into 3 4x5 vertical strips. So that's what I'm doing there. I take my cinematic crop, bring it into Photoshop, and then I slice it into the 3 4x5s, export those as 3 separate JPEGs or PNGs or whatever. And then you can drop them in as individual pictures in Instagram, and it just kind of does that seamless slide thing. So,
Or you could do that thing where you do 3 in a row, and it would be like, the band, like if you did 3, how people do it in order where you can build, like if I was looking at your page here, you could do like where Leia is.
Sure. Yep. Across
individual posts.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm gonna have to get you to text those numbers, so I won't try that at some point.
See, like that, like this shot, I would not think is just this little square in the background. Like, I'm always worried about all this other stuff going on, and like you said, it really is just
there's just a little cone of vision that the lens sees, and that's all that matters. Everything outside that corner.
I would have never thought to do something like that.
Yeah. So those are Death Star wall panels that my cousin 3D printed for me a couple of years ago, and I think I have one more extra panel. I don't have many, but I just prop those up on a gooseneck and a clamp and put a flash and a softbox behind it to give it that nice bright light, and then an overhead softbox and a couple of bounce cards, and away you go.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that was fun. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on here.
So a lot of when I'm looking for ideas, a lot of my inspiration comes from other genres of photography, aviation photography included. So this was, I guess I don't know who took the original shot, but anytime I see a shot I like, I'll usually save it. It'll be a couple of fighter jets or something. I'm like, that would look cool if it was a similar shot, but with X-Wings or TIE fighters, something like that, So have a bunch of those shots saved. And that's exactly what this was. It was like a couple of wingmen flying together. Mm-hmm. The TIE fighter in the foreground is the 1/18th, like the vintage collection scale. So it's a pretty, it's not behind me anymore. So that's the one in the foreground. And then the background one is the Micro Galaxy version. So they're two completely different scales.
Two different scales.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. But if you a little forced perspective, play with them a little bit, you can get something out of it. And
that's
then
so cool.
To light the inside of the cockpit of the foreground one,
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a separate shot where I open the canopy and then I'm holding like a loon cube with a red gel on top of it, just holding it, taking a couple of shots. Yeah, there you can see the smaller one in the background.
That's so cool.
So that's
awesome.
That's kind of all it is there. Yeah.
And it's cool that the details are far enough away on the small one that it doesn't feel like completely made by a different manufacturer or something. Like, it looks like, because sometimes when you get vehicles and things, it's like, well, that looks like this, but the proportion's a little bit different. So And the way you've got that front one cropped where you don't really see the wings, like it helps play with all that.
Yep. And then, then the backdrop is, I mentioned earlier, I just made a generic star field in After Effects, and I use that as a background quite often. Give it a little motion blur. I believe the background
the blur of the background
to
one is really cool.
I want you to feel like you're in the tail of a plane, like you're a photographer, and you're shaking and they're chasing you, and you're trying to get pictures of it. And I think the background has like a little bit of a rotational blur as well and things. And
that's
actually
so
cool. So there's another little fun tip. When you're doing visual effects like this, to make your visual effects look good, you have to make them look bad. And what I mean by that is when you put effects in, you often have to like make them out of focus or blur them a little bit and like add noise. Everyone's so scared of noise, but it's like, no, throw noise in it. That's what makes it look authentic and real,
That's what throws me off with like when people have, I forget what the setting is on TVs for like the high def TVs. It's like the sports setting. Like it's fine for sports, but when I'm watching a movie, I don't want it to look like I'm looking at, what were those things you'd put in the oven as a shrinky dinks or whatever, like those clear things. Like I feel like when I'm watching like a Hollywood movie with that setting on, it's like there's a static background and then it's like these like gel, like cell cutout people like just dancing in front of like paper puppets.
Sure. And that could be a frame rate thing too, when they artificially add motion enhancement and all that kind of stuff where you're adding frames.
Like I just love that. Like it's so like this real close up shot of the handoff there that's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's so that's the other Mandalorian figure that I think I was talking about earlier. The
chromed up one.
That's the non. Oh wait, no, I can't tell the difference. Oh, and you can see my legs it's the behind the scenes shot. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So that's just the two. The armor and the Mandalorian, and then
I love that.
Have you guys ever seen kinetic sand? You ever heard of that?
Oh yeah,
it's this really weird product that you can get, and it's like sand meets silly putty or something. It's the weirdest.
Right.
Oh
thing.
Yeah.
Like so you can pour it, but then you can cut it, and
it's so weird. Yeah, so that's the sand on the ground there, and then I think I just have a couple of bounce cards, and there's a flash with an orange gel in the background somewhere, and then I added the sparks later with Boris effects. I think.
Nice, so cool.
Wait, real quick, I'm going to do a quick shout out to the crew in the crowd here. We got Art G, We Talk TV, Joe Gonsalves, Steve O'Beg, Nate Strong Star, Chris Durant, Douglas Tupper, Bill from Dork Lair. Let's see who else. Benny Torres and Brian, who are on the road, hopefully getting close to home. They dropped me off and hit the road back to New Jersey. Who else we got in here? Star is with us. J-Mac, Destination Stone, Chris Durant, Trevor, Thanos Copter, Skelevator, Articulated Times, I think Brad Johnson. All right. I hope I got everybody. But thank you all. Dave Orkin's here. Thank you guys. Thank you all for being here.
Definitely.
It was a little commercial break to thank everybody.
Thanos, I got your prize from the after party out on Saturday, so it is on the way.
Excellent.
Jesse, what do you think about this one?
I love it.
Jesse's a big Ahsoka fan.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot going on in this one. It's there we go.
Got a little video there.
I sometimes sneak in the videos. I finally joined TikTok like around the beginning of the year. It's so funny. I used to be a video guy, but I'm just not finding. It's a lot of work. I just want to make the pictures.
Is this the Hot Toys version of the Ahsoka?
Yes, that is the Hot Toys Clone War version of Ahsoka.
Gotcha.
I'm hoping they put out a Rebels version of her.
Oh yeah,
that's my favorite look. That's my favorite look of Ahsoka, just the costume and everything she's got in that. So I'm fingers crossed they'll eventually do a Rebels version in Hot Toys.
Do you have the original Hot Toys version?
I don't have any Hot Toys.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I had it on pre-order, but I canceled it.
Gotcha. Now this is something interesting.
Oh, there's a fun one, yeah. So that
Yeah, what we got going on here?
That is the SH Figuarts version of Mando, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Yep. So yeah, okay. So there's another backyard shot. He's stuck to an acrylic rod, and I'm behind him. I can't remember if I'm kicking the snow or if I'm using one of those. There's like a plunger gun that's pretty popular in toy photography. You pump it up, then you pull the trigger, and it poof, does that kind of number.
Gotcha.
So I think I can't remember if I'm kicking it or using that tool, but basically, yeah. And I'm using the camera remote in one hand, and I'm behind the figure, either kicking up snow in whatever fashion I'm doing it. And then in the final shot, you'll see a lot more fire. That's again, Boris Effects Optics. I'm using some of their particle effects to enhance the explosion. So it's a mixture of practical and digital kind of effects. When you can't bring fireworks, to the party.
Gotcha. You didn't want to just throw an M80 out there.
Yeah, I didn't. I've only got the one figure of him. I didn't want to burn that cape
that's
up.
That's a different type of toy photography.
Yeah, exactly. I've used fireworks in the past, and it's super fun. But I guess sometimes I just want.
The alien queen.
Oh yeah, she's a beaut. I do love her. Yeah, this is another simple one. There's really not a lot going on here. It's a black backdrop, black floor, and then those are all. They're 1/18 scale. I can't remember the company, Haya maybe or something like that.
Okay.
And then now in one of those behind the scenes shots
from the side.
Yeah, so that's again a mix of practical light and then enhanced with I'm sure Boris Effects. That's where I usually make my lens flares.
That just looks like it's straight out of Aliens. Like,
thank you. Yeah, so
like. You click the next frame and you're going to see the shot of like Ripley getting ready to run down the hallway.
Yeah, that was very purposely color graded to look like Aliens. Alien had the very kind of warms and greens tones, and then Aliens came in with a lot more blue tones and things. And so I'm very excited. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say the way it's diffusing around the top of the crest of her head and everything. It's so cool.
Yep. And I think I'm over there with a can of atmosphere aerosol, kind of spraying. And then it didn't come out as much as I like, but I was trying to get more like the God rays. And in one of the behind the scenes shots, you can see I'm actually using a grilled veggie tray that has a bunch of holes poked in it. So I was I have the flash behind that. So I'm trying to get the spray, and I was hoping the flash would then fire and kind of draw some of those lines, but it didn't quite work out. But yeah, I think, there you can kind of, right there. Yep. There's a flash behind that. That's like a veggie tray for putting on the grill.
That's awesome.
Oh,
awesome.
Oh, yeah. So those are the
great thing about sorry, go ahead. I keep interrupting.
No, it's okay. No, it's all good. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So she's the 1/18 scale, and I'm very excited. NECA announced that they're redoing the larger, that would be 1/12 scale, I think, version. So I've got her on pre-order.
Nice.
Like the Alien Queen is one of my all-time favorite movie monsters. Like I can't get enough of her.
Oh, she's great.
I love this one too. This I'm guessing this is another one with two different scales of.
Yep. So that is an old Ertl model, I believe, that I had in a box that I probably had when I was like 12 or something. So I've got it sitting up on a gooseneck and a couple of platypod plates. And then that TIE fighter is one of the Micro Galaxy TIE fighters. Man. So I shot, and this was another one. I wanted to get it in one shot. So I'm literally holding my camera and the TIE fighter like this, and I'm trying to, but I couldn't get the two things in focus in the same focus plane as much as I wanted to.
It looks like the TIE fighter's pretty high up in the air too.
So I ended up, having to take the two shots separately and then composite them together, and then add some motion blur and blaster and engine effects.
That's so cool.
That's great. And the shadow of the snow speeder.
Oh yeah, added in. I think there was a real shadow in the shot, but I don't think I used it. I think I replaced it with an artificial one.
Like I said, your stuff, like if you were to put a bunch of your pictures together and throw it into a trailer, I'd be like, okay, when does that series start? Because I want to see that like right now.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Oh, and there's also like some rotational blur on that TIE fighter to give it like it's coming in and it's spinning. See how see there's kind of what I was saying before about, to make your effects look good, you got to make them look bad. I don't want everything crisp and sharp. I want it kind of like it's an accident kind of looking. That's 6 scale Hot Toys Vader. Yep.
Yeah, I totally believe that's not out of the movie. Like,
That's so beautiful.
come on. I mean, compliments to the photo and just the details on the toy. Like that
Yeah,
looks
absolutely.
like
Those
David Prowse walking down a hallway in Empire Strikes Back.
This is how you get people to buy 1/6 toys. Shit, I need to stay away from you. Now, okay, that's cool.
There we go. Batman action.
Yeah.
So this started as a completely different, well, not completely different shot, but my intent with this shot was to actually have the camera up high, and I was intending to shoot Batman's shadow on the floor, like a long shadow with the ears.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know why I switched it up, and I ended up doing this silhouette shot instead. And all that is 2 pieces of black foam core sitting on a piece of white foam core, I believe. And then there's a flash with a big softbox directly behind him, creating that high key. And then add atmosphere aerosol, and then I did add his eyes I lit up in Photoshop just to give him.
I just love the way that it's framed there with the light coming in the middle. I mean, you could practically put any figure in there.
Absolutely.
That would look badass.
Any good
I love how it's in like thirds. Like it's like in half and third. Like it's the composition of it is really cool. Like
like because I wanted to see his shadow at
the
same time on the bottom there. But
go to the Leia one, because I love those little figures from the game system,
Disney Infinity, I think.
Yeah. So just seeing like I have her.
Oh, I would have guessed that was an outdoor shot. Holy cow.
The camera loves those little Infinity figures. I have a small handful of them. I haven't shot them in a while, but yeah, they look great on camera. And actually, for anyone who's listening now, the Disney eShop, the Disney store has a set of these figures, but they articulate now. It's normally like $100 set, and it's on sale for like $40 or something. And I'm not affiliated or sponsored. Yeah, it comes in a big Darth Vader looking head or something. My cousin let me know that, and I ended up buying it. So
what is this in the background that's got like the ripply? Yeah.
That background is actually, how do I explain this? It's a shelf for a container for trade shows.
Okay.
At one of the companies I used to work at, it was a trade show booth that all broke down, and you put it in this case. But when you open up the case, take out all the parts, there'd be a couple of shelves. The case would become a podium of sorts, and they would have shelves in it. We were throwing away all that stuff, and I saw a handful of these shelves. I'm like, with a coat of paint, it looks kind of sci-fi. It might be just enough to be a background. So I snagged a couple of them. I painted one side white, the other side just a medium gray, just for variety. And sure enough, boom, it kind of looks like that classic kind of Star Wars Carillion Corvette, classic Rebel white hallway kind of thing. So
yeah, that's awesome.
That's really
like
cool.
that.
Yeah, thank you.
I totally would have thought that was an outside shot, like in the snow or something.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So that's cool.
And I love the thing's like 2 or 3 inches tall, and the fact that you make it feel as big and prominent as the 1/6 Darth Vader.
Yeah. I almost always, unless I have a specific creative reason. Otherwise, I pretty much always shoot shoot the characters from below eye level, at least eye level or below their eye level, of course.
Man,
that's just a beautiful figure.
Is that as metallic as it looks?
He is. I did enhance the light bloom a little bit on his chest and helmet, but yeah, he's a beautiful chrome figure. What is
that? I mean, it's a clone trooper. Is it?
Yes.
Is it a specific version, or is it just a chrome version?
It's a chrome version from Hot Toys.
Yeah. Hold on.
That is super cool.
Well, he's grabbing whatever he's grabbing. Because I know they did the carbonized ones in the Black series, so I'm assuming it's just like a variant.
Oh, that's
wow.
Yeah, he was like a limited edition. I don't know if it was a Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con thing or something, but he comes with the Phase 1 helmet as well.
Oh, okay.
And he's got the jetpack.
Oh, that's great.
Jetpack is bad.
Yeah, we just lost Curtis. He's gonna hunt that down now.
God, I don't want to buy 1/6 stuff.
yeah. Look him up. They had him exclusive at the show. I wasn't at the show, but then they released a handful of them or something after the fact. They're like, "Hey, hop on the list, get on the pre-order." I'm like, "Okay, I'll take my chances," and I got him, and I was super stoked.
And this is another beauty right here.
So that's Black Series speeder bike with a custom cloak or whatever I got on Etsy or
Yeah,
Macari or something like
okay.
that.
whatever that cloak is, it does make it look like he's moving.
Help give it a little bit more motion.
Yeah, and then the blur, of course. Oh,
Yep. So that's
so
just
good.
just taking the figure down to the park on a walking trail and find a spot and take some shots.
Okay,
And then,
let me ask you about this because I did one set of photos out at a park near here years ago. I took some dinosaurs, Jurassic Park dinosaurs, and some different things. I felt, and it was probably just in my head, I felt like everybody that I saw walking around was just like, what is that weirdo doing?
Yep.
What is that 40-year-old man doing with a dinosaur down by the pond? Like,
oh yeah, I hear you.
Do you ever get that, or do they come up and talk to you, or?
Not very often. I'm kind of skittish about that myself. If I see a lot of people at the park, I'll be like, oh, maybe go to the next park or something, you know, find the next trail or something. No, I've talked to a couple people. A lot of times they're just curious, like what the heck you're doing. And then once you kind of explain it to them and you show them a couple shots on the back of your camera, or you show them your Instagram account, they're like, oh, I get it now. Okay, that's really cool. Wow.
Yeah, no, you're
my kid's
really
got some
good.
figures. I'm gonna take some things. Yeah.
So well, it's like at PowerCon this weekend we had PowerCon, so it was mostly men, but it was a mix of like all varieties, you know, families, kids, adults, adult guys, mostly adult guys. And then there was a cosplay Comic-Con or con going on at the same time in another ballroom, like a couple ways down. So I was talking to the people I was hanging out with. I was like, who's giving who the weirder looks? Like, are the cosplays looking at us? Like, what are all those like old dudes
weird
doing?
Toy collectors and
you know, and then you've got everybody. I think it was mostly like an anime convention. So it was interesting. It was just funny, you know, like, yeah, good times.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
Do you, like, if you go, you know, traveling somewhere on vacation or whatever, do you typically bring anything with you just in case you find like a really good spot to shoot?
I typically don't. If I'm traveling, I should more bring figures. Like I brought a figure to that Florida trip in the spring, but I didn't even take it out to shoot it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's one of my personal faves too.
Yeah, I figured.
I'm a huge I'm a huge nut for the what was it, the 89 or 1990 Shelve movie, the original one. I still love that one.
I was that red and blue
what
light
do we got
on
going on
sides.
here? Yeah, so okay. Yeah, just a black backdrop, black floor. And then I'm using constant LED constant lights. There's a Loon Cube in the back, that white one, and the one up that's red. Those are, I have a couple. It's a Godox M1 panel, I think it is. And then there's probably one off to the right, shining blue as well. So yeah, it's 3 lights set up, and then
are you like spraying a mist or something on it?
Yep, just a water bottle full of water, and you're just fire,
wow,
fire kind of thing. There's a can of aerosol there. Yep, exactly. And then there's a can of atmosphere aerosol. I don't know if that made it into the shot.
Well, and the colors are great because like the first one especially, but even this one, it's like, all right, he's walking back like in the scene from the movie, or he's walking back from going to the movie. And you know, you've got those reds and blues, those neon New York 80s lights going on, and you know,
and then again, full transparency.
Or it could even be a street light behind him or something.
Yep, street lights, alley lights, and then full transparency on that first shot. The back light is enhanced with an additional lens flare from Boris Effects and Photoshop. So
I like this shot, but this is even like, I don't know, something about this, like the close up with the lighting on the side of the hat and the side of the figure here, and the mist coming down. Like,
that's interesting that you say that. No, I'm glad you did, because oftentimes when I do these setups, I'll shoot a couple angles, just shoot for coverage. But then I'll usually just pick one. I don't know why in this instance I threw a second one in there per se, but it's fascinating to hear that you so you really like
I mean, I clicked on it because of the first photo, but I really like this one even better. I think that
nice.
It goes back to the whole thing with the storytelling. Like the first one, that's like the establishing, that's like the wide shot, you know, it's like, okay, Raph's on the street. This is like, he's like, all right, he sees somebody because his sigh is out in that first one. It's like, he's like, oh, you can just hear him be like, oh, it's on, you know, or
you talking to me?
Like that.
You talking to me?
Yeah, I just love how like
Jose Canseco back.
This side of his face.
Tell me you didn't pay money for this.
Yeah. Yeah, this side of his face is dark from the hat, and then you've got the red on this, and then this side you can see the expression, and I don't know, just the way his face is lit up, I really love.
Yeah, there's a term for that. in portrait photography. I forget what it is. It's I can't remember if it's off lighting, backlighting, soft. There's a term where where you light the opposite side that's facing camera. I can't remember what that's called. Shoot. Well, it doesn't matter, I guess, but
it looks awesome though. That's for sure. Yeah. I like that a lot. Okay. This is another cool outdoor shot, huh?
Yep. So that is a Bandai ATST walker. It stands 7-8 inches tall or so, give or take. Yeah, so that was another.
Is this like after a storm or something?
It's so funny. It's a walking trail back by our old house in a park. Yeah. And my wife and I went walking it one day, and they just cleared a bunch of brush. They came through and they cleared a bunch of this stuff up. And as I'm walking by, I'm like, dang, that kind of looks like a small forest. I should probably come back tomorrow with something. So awesome. Sure enough, I came back the next day and found a spot and took some shots. And
isn't it interesting how, like, as you get into this stuff, you start seeing things in the world differently? Mm-hmm. Like something that in the past you may have just walked by and not, but then you see it now and you go, this would work great with X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, like a specific tree or a rock or sand or something. It all looks differently. It's like seeing the Matrix or something. You see the code. And it's like, oh, there's a photo right there.
My wife has worked on doing some dios and stuff, and like we'll drive by a building or something. She'll go, that wall would be excellent to put on a dio.
Yeah, like just textures, just
stuff like that. Or we'll see like a rock or something, and she'll be like, oh, it'd be cool to make some rocks like that. That just you just start seeing things a little different.
Oh, I get it.
Oh wow, that looks cool.
Yeah, well, Jason Jason Voorhees, of course, from Friday the 13th, and then the girl in the foreground is April O'Neil from the old Ninja Turtle movie.
April, huh?
Yep.
I love the angle of the shot on that. The lighting is the way the lighting is, and then the angle of the shot is really cool.
Yeah. So sometimes just to give your picture a little bit more distress and action, just giving it it's called the Dutch tilt. You just crank the camera a little bit one way, and you have to do it. You have to commit to it. You can't just turn it a little bit. There's really no science behind it. There's not like a specific number, but if you don't tilt it enough, it looks like a mistake. But if you really crank it, it looks intentional.
So if you're going to do it, really do it.
You really commit to it. Yep. But yeah, that's kind of like the Raphael shot. It's a couple of lights with the spray bottle.
Oh, it looks like you got a little feel of it too.
Yeah.
That's great. So I love it. It's again, not a lot of stuff in the composition. It's the lights and the two figures and a little bit of effects.
Yeah,
you don't have to. You don't have to spend a lot of money on all the dios, which like I make dios, so shut up, Jesse. Jesse, me, not Jesse, you. You can get away for folks that are getting started. You don't have to spend a lot on big elaborate displays. You have a couple of the right lights and the right compositions and like you said, like that angle and stuff.
And that's really come from my environment too. I think, my wife and I bought a new house last year, so I have a nice loft here that I can get creative in. But before then I had a small 3rd bedroom, tiny desktop. So I didn't have a lot of options. So it did really force me to kind of creatively, I have this, and this, what can I make out of it kind of thing.
I love this, that you've got this one kind of like broke apart.
Yep.
And then you use it as if it's getting blasted.
Yep. Yeah. So there again, there's the exact same Millennium Falcon, the Micro Galaxy Millennium Falcon, and a couple of the Micro Galaxy TIE fighters. And their wings pop off. So in behind the scenes, you'll see that one TIE fighter just pop the wing off. And I've got a couple of gator clips on their little stands or whatever stuck in the mud there. And
so you really committed to the damage on that one. And that's cool.
Snapped it like it was a Silverhawk.
I actually have a couple extra that I've been meaning to just to have them as the destroyed ones, kind of burn them up and do something. But
you were talking about your kind of like the forced learning to like work with the minimal setup in the previous space and everything. I wanted to comment earlier about how you said you were using like the piece from the grill. The veggie tray from the grill, like how, if you find the right stuff, you can, anything can work especially if it's off camera or if it's not going to be seen. Like if it works, it works. You can use anything. You don't always have to go spend money on elaborate pieces.
Yeah.
to make the stuff work,
go to your local hardware store and just start roaming the aisles. You'll just start finding things or go to your retail store. Like there was a Stormtrooper shot. I don't think we actually showed it, but the background was actually like a kitchen shelf thing that I found at Target. It had the perfect Star Wars pattern, those kind of like pill looking light things on the wall, painted it gray, and it became a background,
Nice.
So, Master Chief.
No. Yeah, I like on this one, like you could like if I were to walk up to this area, I would not think this is a good area for a photo. Like like there's just a building in the background and all this. But then like you said, you're only focusing on what's in that camera view.
Vision,
and the final shot on this is just, it's awesome. So
yeah, I think so. That's very, very similar to them. This is almost the predecessor to that Mando explosion shot we saw.
Right.
In the snow. Exact same thing. This one I do remember. This one means a lot to me because it was the last shot I took at our previous house. So it's like, oh, okay, it was kind of that final shot.
Okay.
I meant to bring that plunger air compressor explosion-y thing. I forgot it. So I'm actually literally back there kicking sand, taking a bunch of shots in a sequence, like just kicking it, hoping it doesn't fall over. And then, you take a series of shots, you go back and you pick the one you like.
Somebody walks by and you've got a toy out in the middle
and
you're just kicking dirt at it.
Over there? Yeah.
Like, he really hates that toy. He's just,
exactly.
Not even the toy, like you're kicking dirt towards your camera.
That's true.
Well, actually, if you saw in the behind the scenes shot, I do have my camera covered with like a plastic bag.
Oh, yeah.
Just in case, just in case. And then, like I said in the Mando shot, that's practical dirt flying, and then it's also enhanced with some particle effects from Boris Effects and Photoshop.
I'm with Curtis on that. How it just I mean, that's part of the whole movie magic thing. You get this area, you put the right couple things in the camera, and it totally transforms where you believe. Like I see that shot, and I hear the blasters, I hear like the grunts or whatever the creatures are from Halo and the different battle effects.
Yeah, I absolutely love that you said the thought about the sounds and stuff, because that's oftentimes really what I'm going for. I hope my viewers can hear and like feel some of these shots. I love when people say, "Oh, I can hear that shot." It's to really to give it a mood. Oh, that ATST walker is the same. That was from the exact same shoot as that other one we looked at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just same shot or same scene, same outing, I guess, just different angle. And
now I want to
really
see
cool.
Snow Ewoks.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
See, like I would sit there and take a photo, and this is what it would look like. Like this, this is how it would come out, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I did a good job," But like this is something completely different.
Yeah, a little blaster fire. I even put a little motion blur on one of the legs just to try to give it some momentum, and that's being held up.
Stop motion.
Kind of, yeah, and it's just being held up with I think a couple of not toothpicks, but like grilling skewer kind of things.
I got a whole stack of those right here.
What is this figure?
What is that figure? I don't remember what I got them on Big Bad Toy Store. I'm almost certain.
Is that an X-ray? One of the combatants?
Maybe. I was trying to figure out what that shield was, because that shield's awesome.
I don't know offhand. I don't remember. He's the only like gladiator type figure I have. I don't remember. I'm almost certain I got him from Big Bad Toy Store, but I couldn't tell you what he is.
Gotcha. Well, he's cool, whatever he is. I like that.
Yeah, so that was a challenge given to me from Platypod, a company that I work with a lot. They're just like, can you throw a figure? Just throw a bunch of lights at it. Just see what you can do with lots of lights. I'm like, okay. Here's like 4 loom cubes surrounding the guy, and I wanted to do. Like
whoa! Hold on a second. This says this is a Lego Saturn rocket.
Yes, that is the Lego Saturn 5.
Hold on, roll it back. I thought this was honestly a space shuttle that you took a picture of.
Thank you.
Like, holy crap.
So there's really not a lot of post-production on this other than color grading and exposure correction. That lens flare is real. That was very purposely put there, shot at a very high. I think it was shot at like an F22 or something. So a little photography trick. If you want to get lens flares like that, shoot at a really small aperture. And by small, I mean the opening. So like F18, F22, 26, and beyond, that really pinches the light and gives you those nice starbursts. This is an older photo. So this is before I started doing the behind the scenes stuff, but that's me out on our deck. The Saturn V is sitting on the edge of like our little patio table. And I wish I would have had my wife take pictures, but so I'm kind of like laying on the ground, shooting upwards at it. It's just sitting like centimeters away from the edge of the frame is the corner of the table of the deck. It's just
that is crazy, man. I honestly thought that I was like, oh, cool. He stopped by a space station and like, got a picture of a shuttle before it took off. Like, that is amazing. Wow, that's cool. I like that a lot.
That is awesome. Oh, the clone shroom helmet in the snow.
It's even got Vader in the helmet there.
This one hits Jesse in the feels.
Oh my gosh. Go back to that close up on the visor.
Right there.
Oh,
it got the little Vader in the visor.
Yep.
Dang,
So
that's so good.
So that was composited in. I think that is a shot that's on my Instagram feed that's very old, just a high key silhouette shot of Vader. There's that shelf again.
I was gonna say, is that the other shelf piece?
That's
the
other side of it, gray. Yep, it's one of those things. Just put it in the background, so it'll be out of focus. Nobody will know.
Yep, it looks like a crash Star Destroyer.
Yeah, so that's the Ahsoka Hot Toys.
Wow.
What's her
332nd.
332nd. There you go. Okay, yeah. So that's that helmet. And I set it out in the snow for a little while, let it kind of get covered on its own a little bit for half an hour or so. And,
oh man.
There's Rex. Yep. Rex is one of my favorites. So that's,
I gotta say,
go ahead.
Clone Wars real quick. Curtis just recently finished watching Clone Wars and all that stuff. The way that show made the clones be complete characters that people care about is just fantastic.
I'm with you. I want a Saving Private Ryan / Band of Brothers series based on the clones. I think that'd be super awesome.
Ooh,
Ventress. Oh, we're really going back. I haven't looked at these in a long time.
Yeah, this is wow. That's cool. That is awesome. That totally looks like a cosplay there.
That's hot. Yep, that's the Hot Toys mall.
Good grief.
Yep.
Wow.
Again, compliments on the design of the figure itself, but again, the shot, the way you took that, that looks like a real person.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple more of those Disney Infinity figures, the Darth Maul and the Obi-Wan up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool, man. This is some really great stuff. So it looks like you do mostly Star Wars, but then you've got a few other things in here.
Yeah. I'm on a Transformers kick right now, so you're probably going to be seeing some more Transformers stuff coming out soon.
I love this. This was, I think, one of my picks a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are 3-0 figures. MDLX line, I think it's called. So they're 6-7 inches. Great little figures. They really are. They don't transform.
Inches tall. Yeah, those are cool. I like those.
I like how they look somewhere between like the original G1 and the Michael Bay stuff. Like they've got a little more realistic look to them, but they still feel like
ditto. Yep.
I'd imagine them if they were real when I was a kid.
That's why I love those two. They're right where those things meet.
Yeah.
Where if you don't mind me asking, where do you get these? Like, are those on Big Bad Toy Store? Or
yes, they are on Big Bad Toy Store. Yep.
Gotcha. They have one of those.
Yeah, they have there's a red version of Bumblebee. I forget what his name is.
Cliff Jumper.
Cliff Jumper there. Yep. And then they have the black Optimus Prime. I forget what his name is. Nemesis Prime. And they also have a beautiful looking Megatron and a Starscream. They're on pre-order right now. They're not out yet. A couple people have them, but the Megatron looks so good. I'm
a big Starscream fan because I met him in real life.
Oh no shit! The voice actor.
when I was like 5, I saw like a Starscream at Kmart, like a guy that was dressed up in it, but I didn't realize at the time that it was like somebody in a suit. Like I thought I met the actual Starscream, and like I lived off of that high for a few years at school, like telling people that I met the real Starscream.
Nice.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, really great stuff. Oh, let me pull up this one real quick. That's another.
Oh my gosh.
Jurassic Park from the other week.
Dude, the roar. I mean, I wake up to the T-Rex roar every morning. That's my alarm on my phone. But like
Nice.
that instantly just went through my head.
We just learned something about Jesse today.
Oh, funny.
I love the lighting effect with the lightning in the background. That's cool.
So, okay. So the interesting thing about this one is it is actually off-camera flash and LED lighting in one shot. So the off-camera, the flash is behind the T-Rex up really high to give that lightning effect. And then the tail light, the light spill on the tail lights is an LED panel. So the flash fires and gets kind of the ambient, and then the shutter stays open just a little bit longer, just like I don't know, like a half second or something, not too long, to kind of let that red bake in from the LED.
Oh, wow.
And then a little bit of a lens flare on the tail light.
Yep. Added the lens flare digitally and the lightning that came from Boris FX. And then there's actually digital rain and real rain in there. The side effect of the flash is the flash duration is so fast that it freezes everything. So the rain, I'm doing the whole spritz with a water bottle thing there. But if you were to zoom in, like if you went and looked at it, you would see all my rain is just little dots, which I didn't really want, but I couldn't do anything about. To get the little streaks, I would need to use like the LEDs and a slower shutter speed to just get those streaking, a little bit of motion blur on them. So the specs are in there from the real rain. And then I also did an overlay of some digital rain just to, because I wasn't super thrilled with how the rain looked at it, but
gotcha. Okay. I'm gonna ask a really noob question now because don't know jack about photography. Hear a lot of people talk about shutter speed, and I have no idea what shutter speed is. So like, can you just like in a really dumbed down, as if you're talking to a child, explain shutter speed?
That's not a stupid question at all. That's these are one of the first things you really should learn in photography is your exposure triangle, which is your shutter speed, your aperture, and your ISO. What the shutter speed is basically, so you have your sensor in the camera, and the sensor's job is to absorb light like a sponge would absorb water.
Okay.
So what the shutter speed is, there's basically a shutter or a door in front of that sensor that blocks light all the time. When you take a picture, it opens and closes. That's your shutter speed. So if you want to freeze motion, you need a really fast shutter speed. Someone's running across the screen or something, you need boop, boop. It just freezes everything. A slower shutter speed gives you that sort of motion blur like the rain. So now the shutter speed, it opens and things are happening, and it's almost like the light is smearing itself kind of with the motion. I don't know if that helps at all.
Yeah.
Basically, you want a fast shutter speed freezes motion, slower shutter speeds create blur and things. Now, some of the side effects of that, a fast shutter speed, if it's so fast as in 1/500th of a second, 1/1000th of a second, 1/8000th of a second, that shutter speed is so fast that you need a lot of light to actually get in there. So you have to have bright lights. That's why I use flash a lot of the time, just because I use slightly faster shutter speeds. Not that fast, like 1/25th of a second, I think is kind of my standard. But if you're out shooting in low light, then you need a slow shutter speed because the shutter has to open. There's not a lot of light available. So that light has to sort of soak into the sponge, if you will. It needs more time to soak in. I don't know if that helps at all.
Yeah, that totally helps. So, because I've heard people say, talk about having fast shutter speed, that helps, but I didn't understand why. So that makes sense now. So it's basically like capturing everything without the blur, and it's like freezing it in time. Okay.
Yeah. So if one of those explosion shots, if you wanted to freeze all the little particles in the air, you would use a fast shutter speed. Just boom, boom, just lights in, lights out. If you wanted to give the illusion of motion and you wanted those little particles to be blurring, like, you can see the velocity of them, then you'd use a slower shutter speed, like 1/60th of a second, 1/80th of a second. So the shutter opens, things are happening, and it closes. I mean, we're talking about fractions of a second here, so slow versus fast.
Right.
But then now on the flip side of that, a slow shutter speed helped me get the Arthur Morgan cowboy shot with the stars.
Mm-hmm.
That was very low light. So, I mean, I'd have to look it up, but there's a great chance the stars in the background, that was probably like a 20-second, 30-second exposure because the stars are so dim. You just put it on a tripod, just open the shutter and just let the light soak in. Don't
so you can
move
adjust the shutter speed on your camera.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, I didn't know if you had to use like a different camera, one for fast and one for slow. Or...
No. Most modern cameras will have a full manual mode where you can control the shutter speed, or there will be actually a shutter priority mode where if you're learning this stuff, or if you're going for a specific look, you can put it in shutter priority mode. And I know I want the shutter speed to be this. The camera will figure out the ISO, the aperture, all that stuff. But I know that's really good for like aviation photography that I talked about earlier. If a jet's flying by and you want to freeze that jet, you want a high shutter speed to just boom, freeze it. But now if a helicopter or a prop plane, you don't want a high shutter speed, because then you freeze the prop and it inadvertently looks like a model. It looks like it's just hanging there in the sky. So it's really tricky to do, actually. So you want to use a slower shutter speed, like a 180th or 160th or whatever, because then you want to see that rotor blur. You want to capture that motion blur, and that's a tricky art into itself, because then you have to be really still, because you want to see the rotor blur, but you don't want to blur the airplane or the chopper. So that's a whole art onto itself, learning how to do that stuff.
Gotcha.
But end of the day, learn your exposure triangle. That is really it's boring textbook 101 stuff. But once you know your exposure triangle, shutter speed, ISO, and aperture, and once you know what those three things do and how they interact with each other, all of a sudden it's going to click. You're going to look at other people's shots and you're not going to have to ask how they did it, because you're going to kind of know, or at least you'll know enough to get a starting point, and then you can experiment from there. But yeah, I know it's boring textbook 101 stuff, but I swear it's the fundamentals.
No, for us, I don't want to speak for Jesse, but for me, it's like, I don't know this stuff, so it's not boring at all. It's very enlightening.
I've got a Canon DSLR. I've played with it, but like it's all just been experimenting. I've not
sure
learned a whole lot. So, but I know what you're talking about, but like the comprehension's not fully there. So,
and I have.
Can you say what that was again?
So I use it again. The what? My shots.
The what triangle?
Your exposure triangle. The exposure triangle. Yep. Yeah. Look that up and kind of learn those three things. So yeah, your shutter speed that we just talked about controls how much light reaches the sensor, and controls like freezing action or blurring things on the opposite end. And then your aperture is just like your eye. You know how you kind of squint to see better? That's what an aperture in a lens does. It closes down, it lets less light in, but it also increases your focal plane, how much is in focus. Okay. So if you use a wide aperture, now more light can come in, you can use faster shutter speeds, and you also get a shallower depth of field. Like all those shots that you see people where the subject's in focus and the background is just a nice, beautiful blur, la bokeh or whatever they call it. That's from a wide aperture.
Okay.
And then finally the last one is your ISO. That is basically light amplification. That is kind of the camera artificially boosting the light to compensate for any of the other two things. Now the downside, you typically don't want any ISO. You would base ISO in most cameras is 100. So when people talk about shooting at a low ISO, that's what they mean. You shoot at ISO 100, it's kind of neutral. You get very nice, clean images. If you don't have enough light, you need to increase the ISO, which is amplifying the light. Now, the downside is that adds typically like a little bit of noise or grain to your images, which a lot of people shy away from, but I say, don't worry about it. Cameras are so good this day. The dirty little secret about ISO and noise is nobody actually cares about other photographers. Only other photographers are going to notice it. Regular people are never going to notice. They're never going to care. So
it's the pitchy of photography.
The what?
For singers. Like when people were like, oh, that they were pitchy. Like I understand that's a bad thing.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
I don't know music well enough to be like, I thought they sounded fine. They're like, no, they were pitchy.
Not bad. That's actually not bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, back to the special effects thing about making them look bad. I often will purposely add noise back into my images because it gives it texture and it makes the effect blend in better with the surroundings.
Okay.
When you're really getting into Photoshop and doing those things, you'll notice that whatever noise is naturally in your image, you start adding an effect. Like say I do a lightsaber effect or something, you'll quickly notice that the lightsaber effect is perfectly clean, but the character around it has noise in it. And this is like when you're zooming into 100%, you're really getting in there pixel peeping. So you can add noise back into the effect, which helps it blend into the rest of the image. And now it all just seems seamless. So,
okay.
Makes sense.
Awesome.
Sorry for the
Beautiful.
kind of long-winded
version.
No,
You're good.
You're good. That's cool.
Well, we are right at 2 hours. I feel like that feels like a pretty good show. I did see you've got another thing coming up soon, don't you? Like next Saturday, don't you?
Yeah, next Saturday. An action figure photographer, Mary Fox, reached out to me. She's doing her first live stream. She's been shooting for 13 years, I think she said, and she just wanted someone to come on and talk action figure photography and toy photography. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So next Saturday, I believe. I hope I'm not getting this wrong. Either 3 or 4 p.m. Central on YouTube.
I believe that is on here. Hold on 1 second. Because
she did a reel. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Saturday, 3 p.m.
Hey guys, I just wanted to thank you for the outpouring of support that you guys have shown me the last couple of days. I really appreciate it. That's the one thing I really love about this community is how much we come together. That, and a quick reminder, next Saturday, it's going to be Jesse and I talking about action figure photography on YouTube. I will have the link up soon, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Okay, so that's Mary Fox Firebird. Looks like she'll have the link up later this week, and that'll be next Saturday. So
come hang out, chat. Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about photography. Beautiful.
Yeah.
You got anything else coming up that people should look out for, or anything you want to promote?
I don't think so. I was just recently on the Camera Shake podcast on YouTube. If you guys want to check that out, we picked a couple of images and kind of did a real deep dive into them, just talking about the process and stuff. So you can check that out, the Camera Shake podcast. That's about it. Otherwise, I usually post on my social media every week, usually on Wednesdays, a new project every week, and share it. And feel free to send me messages, ask me whatever you want. I'm completely open with how I make things. And, I enjoy teaching others and giving people those aha moments and creative moments, letting them take the wheel and drive and seeing what they come up with. I'm very selfish in that way. I want my social media feeds to be a bunch of awesome images. So if I can help enable that in others, hey, that's great.
Oh, I did that wrong. I typed that wrong. I was trying to, let's try that again.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on. We love your work.
Thank you.
And thanks for just kind of educating us on how you came up with some of these great shots and what you do. We hope to see you, more in the Mythic Legions or Cosmic Legions.
I think that'll be happening. Yep.
We'd love to see what you could do with some of those shots, because those figures are definitely very photogenic. So
they're awesome.
Yeah, would love to see what you do there. So
cool. And thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for the invite.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I would say likewise, if you ever have any questions about Mythic Legions or Cosmic, if you don't have someone else to go, feel free to hit either.
Oh, I know a guy now. I got a guy. I got a guy.
Guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and if for anyone else watching, I'll throw this out there since it's on topic. Ostradamus Toys on YouTube, a good friend of our channel. He's got a great show called Legions Class, which I get to participate in, where they help people educate about Mythic Legions and now Cosmic Legions. So for anyone who wants to know more about Mythic Legions and just getting into collecting and all that jazz, check out the Legions Class on Ostradamus Toys.
And we couldn't let a show go by without mentioning Legions Con, which is in November in New Jersey. Lots of fun. Hope to see as many people there as possible. I know Jesse's got a table. I've got a table of some of our work. So love to see as many folks there as we can. So yes. Beautiful. Well, Jesse, we appreciate you being on. We're gonna go ahead and put you in the green room, close out the show. If you've got to go, that's great. If not, hang out and we'll talk to you in just a second.
Cool. Sounds good.
We'll be right back with you. But thank you for being on. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, that was a lot of fun. And you stayed awake after all that driving.
I slept in the car a little bit. I was I was passenger, so I wasn't doing the driving. If I had done the driving, I'd probably be stressed to all get out right now.
I got a message from Brian earlier today, and he's like, "Do you really need Jesse back tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah, Jesse's the show. I'm just here for the ride." So, but yeah, appreciate you coming back, and that was a lot of fun.
Yes. Yes, it was. That
What
was
do we got coming up
it's
this week?
this week. I apologize. I do not have the slide ready. I will have it for the post tomorrow, the post show recap. But we have a customizer who I don't know how long he's been into it, but I've just become aware of him in the last couple of months. I think he was at Toylanta or something was where I saw him kind of break in. Custom painter, customizer, Scott Warren. He's in the Cabal. He just did some awesome repaint of like a pinkish red slog, I think over in the Cosmic Cabal.
Oh
Really,
yeah, I saw that. That was really cool.
He's got a lot of talent, really friendly guy, and I'm looking forward to get to talk to him, get to know him again. Not again,
More
like this week, because we 2 weeks in a row people that we don't know necessarily ahead of time. So
yeah.
Which is where this show whole started last summer. So it was just talking to people I don't know. Um,
There you go.
so yeah, that's next Sunday night at 9.
I'm not sure what we're doing Friday. I'm sure we'll do some sort of show, but you've got D&D this week, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll jump on as soon as I get home though.
We'll try to do something. It would be nice. It'd be nice if we could at least do the Have You Ever this week. If somehow you guys can end up watching Cloak and Dagger before Friday.
I will figure out how to watch that before Friday. I can't promise Sean will, but I will definitely watch it before Friday night just in case.
We'll talk about it in our chat, but we'll definitely do something for you guys this next Friday on OffWorld. And then what about Thursday? Do you have something coming up this Thursday?
Thursday, because I missed it this week. Actually, I missed it 2 weeks in a row. I apologize. I was going to try to do something, but I was getting ready to leave Thursday night. Brian and Benny were on their way to pick me up, which huge shout out to those guys for driving both ways and just being pals on the road and all putting up with my bad jokes. But yeah, Thursday night I'll be back with Mythic Minute 9:00 in the Cabal. I'm sure I'll be doing my PowerCon recap in there this week.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you very much, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And until next time,
what's on your shelf?